Hello, welcome in. We're going to do another video today about the new Necromunda release that's come out, the incredible Spyrers. I was a huge Spyro fan back when I used to play Necromunda when I was a kid. I had a Spyro gang along with my Escher gang. I would kind of play them if it was a kind of a one-off game sort of thing. I'm incredibly hyped. I think these are phenomenal. They look incredible. The Spyro, the Aurus here that we got here, we got two different types of claw. We got the bolt launchers and we got the Volkite on the back as well. These are going to be amazing. I'm going to go through because back with the original Spyrers, we had 4 different Spyrers. So we had the Aurus, which you can see here. We then had the Yeld, which were the ones with wings. We had the Malkadon, which was absolutely my favourite because it was basically Spider-Man. And then we had the Jakara as well. My gang back when I used to play used to have 5 models in it. There were 2 Malkadons, an Aurus and 2 Yelds. Generally that was what I used to do. I used to have an Aurus kind of sitting in the centre holding stuff, and then the Yelds and the Malkadons just kind of flying around the outsides and flanking. The Jakara I was never really a big fan of, but I'm sure the new model, hint hint, we do have some possible suggestions going forward. The new model might well be phenomenal as well. So these are incredible. Now they do say down at the bottom of the article, and we said that in the last video as well, that we've loads more to show you from Necromunda Hive Secundus in due course, and more from both the Spyrers and the Mouse Strain. The Mouse Strain is fine, like the Gene Stealers are phenomenal, but the Spyrers, more from the Spyrers. What could that be? Is that going to be the rest of the Spyro gang? So we have the Aurus, we've got the Jakara, we've got the Malkadon, and we've got the Yeld. The Yeld is the one with the wings. Look at the artwork. If we zoom in on the artwork, we've got the amazing Aurus here. We've got some Vansar all the way around here. We've got these Mouse Strains and the incredible looking brains that are just ridiculous. However, if we zoom in here and then scroll across, look at this. We've got a Yeld right there. We've got a Yeld in the middle. We've got the wings coming up here. It looks like they've got like bladed limbs as well. The legs almost like the carbon fiber blades that you see people running in the Paralympics and things. So that's going to be awesome if they've got like bladed limbs, so they can kind of swoop down and stab at you from above. I don't quite know where the las rifles are. He used to have like las rifles on the back of his wrists. I don't know whether this one's going to be kind of slung across his chest or something like that, or even if he's going to have them at all. Maybe it's going to be mounted on his back and it flings out, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see which one this is. But yeah, that's got to be a Yeld. Like I've been looking through the rest of the video picture as well, trying to find any other kind of hints. I thought for a second that was something until I realised it was a Vansar. I was getting very excited and ahead of myself. But yeah, that is definitely a Yeld there, a Spyro Yeld, which is exciting. And then there was the Malkadon. The Malkadon was always my favourite anyway. I mean, this is just a phenomenal piece of artwork. The Malkadon was brilliant. It had web spinners, so it was basically Spider-Man. That was referenced in the last Aranthian Succession book, where Lady Hera, I think she met her brother, and he was wearing a Malkadon. It was referenced as a Malkadon suit, which is this kind of suit. So we have 3 sort of confirmations. Well, definitely one confirmation, because we've got the Aurus. We've got 2 other kind of sort of confirmations, which leads us into, are we going to get the Jakara as well? Now, I think so. I mean, like, why would you bring the 3 in and not bring the Jakara in? So hopefully we're going to get all 4, and I can't see a reason why they wouldn't. So what I want to do is just kind of go through all the rules. We're going to bring you up to speed on what the rules used to be, and therefore what the rules might be going forwards. Because one of the cool things about Necromunda at the moment with the new system is there's lots of weapon traits out there, so you can kind of apply things like Sever and Power, the Power kind of weapon trait, to some of the weapons in here. And also some of these weapons sort of maybe already exist in the game, so we're going to have a look around that. So the Spyro Hunters themselves, I'm just going to read this topic because it's amazing. Even in the living nightmare of the Underhive, the Spyrers were spoken of with a shudder. Parents scare small children into obedience with a mention of their name, and grown men fall silent at tales of their attacks. To Underhive dwellers there are demons of the darkness, blood-soaked fiends who prey upon the warring gangs without compunction or pity. Now, simply, they are the kind of ruling houses, members of the ruling houses, which have come down to the Underhive almost as sport to try and catch and kill some of the gangs that are down there, and almost use them as kind of trophy hunters sort of thing. And they get given these suits. These suits, I think, seem to have changed a little bit with the new, where are they? With the new revamp, in terms of, rather than them being like skin fit suits, these ones are a bit more permanent, shall we say, because we've got some amputation going on with the legs. Interestingly, actually, that also kind of possibly applies to the Yeld as well, looking at the amputation of the legs to try and fit them into this kind of exosuit style battle armor. And yeah, it's just absolutely brilliant. So the way it used to work, they were quite expensive. So I had 5 in my gang when I started. You could completely deck them out as well, and you could kind of run with 4 if you wanted to. 3 was a little bit like pointless, but 4 or 5, something like that. You definitely couldn't really get to 6. I mean, maybe you could. I can't remember quite what the points fitted in like. But once you'd written the gang, once you got all the gang worked out and everything, you had to pick a vow. Now the vow, they work, the gang themselves work slightly differently than other gangs, in that they were only they would only drop down into the Underhive for a short period of time until they kind of achieved their target, and then they would go back up again. And you had to pick one of these 3 vows. So the first vow was to kill a total of 1 gang fighter for each starting member of the team. So if you started with 4 Spyrers, then you had to kill 4 gang fighters in your games, and then that was it. You'd achieved your goal, and you'd go back up to the Underhive. The next one was 200 experience points for each starting member. So again, I had 5 in my starting gang, so I had to get 1,000 experience. And then the last one, you had to survive 2 games for each starting member of the gang. So this is sort of a tiered system for how long you want to fight. The easiest one is probably going to be C, which is survive 2 games with each starting member of the team. So if I had starting team of 5, then I had to survive 10 games. The experience one is probably around the middle, and then I do think killing 1 ganger for each member that you have is probably the hardest one, because you have to take the opponent out of action, and then they have to roll a death on the injury chart as well. So that's kind of, you have to take them out of action, and then you have to rely on your opponent to, luckily or unluckily for them, roll a death. So I think that's probably going to be the one that takes maybe 20 games, something like that. And then the 200 experience, so 1,000 experience, you used to get about 40 to 50 experience a game. You could kind of bump that up a little bit if you got some more taking out of actions and stuff. And then obviously there was some missions as well where you could get even more kills. Things like I think there was a plague scenario where you just kind of fought giant rats and everything constantly, so you got a little bit more experience for that. But generally I think you got about 40 to 50 experience, so that's about 20 games as well, something like that. And then the last one, yeah, the 2 games survive per member. I don't know what happens if you lose a member in that one. I couldn't remember how that one worked out. That was never one that I picked. It was generally the kill one that I picked for my vow. So they sort of relate. They sort of translate over into the current game. I think the experience one could probably be tweaked, because you used to get about 40 to 50 experience in the old game, in terms of you would get bonuses if you were an underdog, bonuses for all sorts of different things, and in the new game you get a little bit more of a set number of experience, so maybe you could drop that experience down if they do bring in this kind of vow idea. I think with what they were saying on the reveal stream about coming down and like clearing out the Malstrain gene stealers, I think they might do a little bit more of a trophy vow, if you like, and maybe this isn't going to be completely what the gang is based around, if that makes sense. So we have they never get any money really. They don't really have any territories and anything like that. They don't get to buy any new equipment because their equipment is literally just their armor and their suit, and then as they get more kills and experience within themselves, the suit kind of powers up a little bit. So if you remember Spider-Man Homecoming, where he had his training wheels protocol that Tony Stark had put on his suit, it's sort of like that. So sort of like that. It's so as you gain experience, the suit kind of unlocks extra abilities which you can then roll on a table, which is great. And then you also get power boosts as well. So if you roll a power boost once you've got some experience, and the suit powers up. And so we have the four different Spyrers. They all have pretty much the same basic stat line, and then the suit gives them the bonus. So the suit for the Jakara here, as you will notice, it gives you +1 movement, +1 weapon skill, and these increases apply to that stat line there. So the armor is quite interesting actually, because the armor gives you a 5+ save unless you get shot from the front, and then you get a 4+ save. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look through all of these, see what sort of relates and translates over to the new edition, and kind of guesstimate, speculate on what they might be doing. So the Jakara is 190 credits. And interestingly, the Jakara is the most expensive one, which might be why I never took it as often. I didn't particularly like the model either. The model wasn't my favourite one. I thought the Malkadons, this Aurus was absolutely badass. And then the 2 Yells were amazing. The Jakara, I probably, if I ever had a Jakara in my gang, I probably would have converted one up from a Harlequin or something. But yeah, so the Jakara was 190 points, the Yeld was 170, the Malkadon was 165, which was an absolute bargain in my view, and then the Aurus was a little bit more expensive, as on 185. Now, if we go to the Aurus first, the Aurus, what could the Aurus kind of look like in a current Necromunda setting? Now, obviously it's on a 40mm base. He's looking quite chunky. The obvious one to kind of relate straight to it is the Ambot. So the Ambot is 215 credits. It is Strength 5, Toughness 5 with 3 wounds, and it does have some range attacks with his Tunneling Claws or Grav Fist. Now the Grav Fist has like Graviton on the back. The Tunneling Claws has like bolters on the back, which is sort of similar to the Aurus we've got here. We've got the Aurus has these Volkites on the back of his claws, and then he's also got the bolts on the back of these claws. Now the claws are different. That one is this one on the left is a little bit like a Power Fist, and then these ones over here are more like Power Claws, so they're like pincers. So there are 2 different claws, and there are 2 different backhand mounted weapons, sort of thing. So we might get a little bit of differentiation, but this was 215 credits for that stat line, which I don't think that's too bad. I don't think it would be quite that expensive. The look of the game when it was revealed was that you had 2 Spyrers there, supported by a handful of Vansar. So I think if the Spyrers get too expensive, you wouldn't be able to get the Vansar in there as well. I do think down the line they are going to say, here are the rules to have just a Spyrer gang. So I think the initial box is, here are the 2 Spyrers, and this is how you play this scenario that we've written for you, because we've given you some Vansar in the box. So you can run 2 Spyrers supported by Vansar to try and kill all these Gene Stealers. I think going forward you will, fingers crossed, you will be able to run a pure Spyrer gang, especially if they're bringing in the Yelds and things. Like, I don't think you would I don't think they would give you the option of having Yelds and Malkadons in the game and not be able to run a Spyro gang. Like if you the option as it is at the moment is you swap out a Spyro, an Aurus for a Yeld, or swap out a Yeld for a Malkadon and run 2 Spyros of your choice with some Vansar in support. I don't think that's going to happen. I think ultimately you'll be able to run, which is going to be so super exciting. Ultimately you'll be able to run a Spyro gang with these, which will be great. So 215 credits. I don't think that's too far away from what it might be. Maybe drop it down to 180 and then play around with the weapons, and you can probably drop. You can probably drop the toughness and maybe the wounds to 4 and 3. I don't know. Where are we? The Goliath, if you find the Goliath leader, I think the Goliath leader is so the champion is toughness 4, strength 4, and the Goliath leader, just kind of thinking off the top of my head, I think he's still toughness 4, strength 4. So yeah, it's strength 4, toughness 4. So I think if you had the Aura sat there at toughness 4, strength 4, maybe 3 wounds, you can maybe go to strength 5 and 2 wounds. I think that might be about right, and then I think you could probably go sub 200 points for him, and then you could upgrade and stick the different Volkites on there as well. I think that might be quite interesting to do. Save wise, now they do look like they've got like void generators on their back to give them a bit of a void save. They are different looking generators as well. These ones have got the black bits on the top, and these ones haven't. Whether they are for the guns on the back, and you've got like an ammo feed that's running down the back of the arm, I don't know, but they do look a little bit like void armory. So maybe they're going to have a little bit better save. Now you'll remember in the old rules, the Jakara had this 4+, almost an invulnerable save, 4+ invuln save in the front arc, and she would also be able to bounce weapons, bounce attacks back at whoever had shot at her. So if we look at the Jakara next, so the Jakara is 190 credits. What could the Jakara kind of relate to? What could you use to kind of see what might work for the Jakara? Now the Jakara is quite interesting because I think you can start applying weapon traits to this, and I think the obvious one that to sort of pull some comparisons with is the Nactghoul from the Dalak gang. So the Nactghoul is 180 points if you give it a Shiver Sword. So a Shiver Sword here has melee, it got parry, power and sever. So the power means that it's got an extra minus on its armor penetration, and then sever is if you take a wound from it, if you take your last wound from it, you are just taken out of action. Now that's quite interesting because if we have the vow, where's the sever? Power is if you roll a natural 6 and you can't make a save, and its damage is increased by 1, which is really interesting. And then sever, if you take somebody down to 0 wounds, then you are automatically taken out of action. Now if you have the vow where you have to kill people, then this isn't going to be very helpful, because you want to take somebody out of action and then like actually take the injury roll. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work going forward, but yeah, that could be a possibility for the Jakara. Now this is one of the things that I do like about Necromunda, is that you can almost kind of apply all these traits to some of the weapons for the Spyrers and just kind of play around and see where you get to. So if we look at my favourite one, if we look at the Malkadon, again, we're going to go to the Dalak again, because the Dalak already sort of have these claws. I can't remember what they're called at the moment. We're just going to scroll up and find the weapon profiles. So they are where are they? Serpent's Fangs. There we go. So they are Serpent's Fangs. They've got paired, phase and rending, which I think sounds amazing. They're strength +2. Now the Malkadon in the old rules used to have +2 movement, +1 weapon skill and +1 initiative. So it was incredibly quick. The strength +2 is quite interesting. And then the phase and the rending. So the phase is you are not allowed to take an armor save from it at all, which sounds kind of cool. Rending is... where's rending? Phases you can't take a save. Rending is if you roll, that's it. If you roll a 6 when you're taking a wound, then you get an extra point of damage, so they become damage 2, which is great. And of course, if you they are paired, which means you're doubling your attacks when you're charging in as well. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. And then the Malkadon always used to have web spinners as well, so you could kind of web when you came in. I don't know whether the web one is in here. Yes, here it is. So if the wound roll for a web attack is successful, no wound is inflicted, no save or injury roll is made. Instead, the target automatically becomes webbed. Treat the fighter as if they were seriously injured and roll for a recovery for them in the end phase. So the web attack, so you could almost kind of web attack coming in and then charge in with the extra attack and slice up with the Malkadon. So the Nactgul with the Serpent Fangs, they are 90 points, so they're a little bit more expensive. So that puts the Malkadon a little bit more expensive than the Jakara that we worked out. So I think he's 190 points. I think he's more than that actually. I think he's 200 with the Serpent Fangs. So it's 200 points for a Malkadon. Again, I think that's probably a little bit steep, but we'll see. I'm kind of hoping that we can get to sort of 4 or 5 Spyrers again for the 1,000 points, or 1,000,000 credits if you like. And then the last one, the Yeld. Now the Yeld is quite an interesting one because I can't really think of anything that's equivalent to the Yeld. So in the old rules, the Yeld would basically got double movement. So he gets +1 movement anyway, so he's up to movement 6. He gets +1 ballistic skill because he's got his the las blasters, laser gauntlets, and then he's got the wings. Now the wings give him a 5+ save, and then they also, if we scroll down and find the weapons for the where are they? There we go, Spyro. So the Yeld laser gauntlets are only strength 3. And then the wings themselves, where are they? There we go. So the Yeld wings basically give them double movement. So they are allowed to fly upwards. Every 2 inches counts as 1 inch moved, and flying downwards every ½ inch counts as 1 inch moved. So they're basically doubling up what they can achieve when they're using their wings. And then they also have -1 attack, -1 to hit because of the wings, because the wings are almost like a chameleonic wing set, so they can kind of cover themselves up and be -1 to hit. Now that does exist in the game at the moment as well. So if you have a look at, I think it's in the Van Saar one, so if you have a look at the weapon profiles and the equipment in the Van Saar. So the equipment here, there is a holochromatic field. So range attacks against a fighter with a holochromatic field suffer -2 to hit, and the melee attacks are -1 to hit. And then there is also a chameleonic cloak, which you can get in the Dalak set as well. So the chameleonic cloak is here, so it's -1 to hit from range attacks if they didn't move. So you can't combine them both, but these are in the game at the moment. So I would be tempted to kind of say that the holochromatic field is probably going to be the most suitable for those. I don't think you want to be stationary with the Yeld and say, well, okay, well now you're -2 to hit me because I'm stationary. I think it's a lot more interesting to kind of be flying around and moving around all over the place. And also getting the minuses to hit. So I think holochromatic field was probably going to be the best idea. In terms of what rules apply or what rules are currently in the game, there is what's the Orlok one called? The Orlok jump pack. equipment. That one gives you a boost, so I think it's a 3-inch boost, and then they can also kind of go up and down as well. So that's interesting, but it doesn't give you any bonus for the movements. I think the Yeld, I think you would probably have like its own special rule on this one, so you would give it like double movement if it wants to fly, or it can go up or down, the different ranges and things. So that's where they all kind of sit. In terms of points for the Yeld, I'd probably try and keep it reasonably small. I'm sort of thinking, if you have a look at these ones here, I think these ones are going to be the larger ones. The Aurus are obviously going to be the larger ones. The Jakara maybe something slightly smaller, maybe on a slightly smaller base as well. And then the same with the Malcadon. The Yeld I would probably kind of keep at a 40mm. So the Aurus and the Yeld at 40mm bases. The Yeld is obviously going to be on one of the cool flight stands with his bladed limbs coming down and the wings above him. And then you get the Malcadon. I can almost imagine the Malcadon. You know the Nactgul that you can get for the Dalak, which is on the beam, which is sticking up from the base. I can almost see a Malcadon kind of clinging to a beam with its claws and having like a one pose with its web gauntlets out, taking a web gun shot. And then the Jakara, it does have the mirror shield as well, the Jakara. So we have the phase blade or the Shiva sword, if you like, if you want to use the equipment which is currently in the game. So you've got that Shiva sword in one hand, and then you've got that mirror shield in the other hand. The mirror shield could almost be where are we? It could almost be the shield from the Van Saar. I don't know where the shield is actually. Where is the shield? Is the shield? I think the shield is a piece of. Oh, there we go. Refractor field. So it's a 5+. 5+ is, so it's almost like a 5+ invuln at the front. However, the full and the hit be ignored. Roll another d6. If the result is a 1, then the field has been overburdened and the attack of the generator is burned out. So I think this is quite interesting. The displacer field reacts to the energy of an impact of teleporting the wearer a safe distance away. That's also quite an interesting thing. So there's a few different sort of options that you could do for the Jakara's mirror shield. The mirror shield used to be able to reflect a attack back, so if you did save, then you roll another dice and see if you would reflect the attack back. I think it had a strength limit on that. It's not like you could reflect back an auto cannon shot or anything like that, but you could reflect back smaller fire incoming, which was quite cool. So there we go. We've got the Spyrers here. That's all the Spyrers, all the kind of possibilities, and like little like that. This might be how they're going to come in. We'll see how it actually transpires. I don't think we're going to have to wait very long to see some rules come out for these, and then we get to play. Now I am starting a Necromunda campaign. I am going to GM it, so I'm going to kind of almost Dungeon Master, Games Master it. I'm going to give the players that I'm playing lots of different kind of scenarios every couple of weeks. So they're going to play each other, and then they're going to play me in a kind of set scenario. And if we do get more Spyrers, there you can bet I'm going to do a right. You're now being hunted by this Spyrer gang, which has come down from the hive world above, from the nobility. And that's going to happen. It's going to be so much fun. So yeah, looking forward to that. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very, very much for hanging out in this very, very excited, just kind of theory crafting speculation video. And I cannot wait to get these and paint them all up. Take care, everybody. You can catch me on Twitch today and for the rest of the week. It's twitch.tv/Chris Frosting, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you like as well. It's just Chris Frosting. Very, very easy to find. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care and have a good week. Bye-bye.